Hey good people, welcome back to Beauty and the Frizz. My name is Cara. Whether you're new or returning, thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me because it is Sunday, so y'all already know it is mimosas and makeup. I'm filming this one super early because I'm actually gonna be out of town watching, and I will be watching with mimosa at the pool or the beach. I'm not sure where I'm gonna be, but ouch. I don't know where I'll be, but I'll have a mimosa. All right, I'm excited because we're just doing some eyeshadow palette talk today. You know, I do like to go through my palettes, and ooh, I just realized there's something else I have to add to this list. Okay, I'm gonna go grab that. So if you wanna talk about neutral eyeshadow palettes, I'm gonna be talking about the top ones in my collection today. Keep on watching. Yeah.
When are we leaving?
Actually, I'm gonna get ready at 12, provided I can do this.
Wait, what time is it?
11:20. So
It was 12.
that's why I gotta finish this. So if you want
You
to
said around 12.
I did.
That means we're gonna go after you do this?
Yeah, maybe. No, it's not what I said. Keep on watching this video. Let me know what you think. And if makeup is your therapy and your love, if it makes you happy and you want to hang out with someone that feels the same way, definitely consider joining the community. I would love to have you back. All right, let's get started. I'm so happy. Okay, y'all, I had to grab another palette. So I had 10 palettes and I had 12 palettes. Now I have 13. I'm gonna cut it off there because I do have more palettes that can go on this list, but these are the palettes that are coming to mind, y'all. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about these neutral palettes. Now, when I think about neutral palettes, you've got your warm tone neutral palettes, you've got your cool tone neutral palettes, you got your neutral palettes that have some pops of color. So I think I have a pretty good mix of palettes here to showcase to you all. And I think that they are all still available, which is a plus. I did have some I thought about putting on here that aren't available anymore, so I just left them off the list. But let's go ahead and get started. Now we're gonna start with the palette I'm wearing right now, you guys. And this, I literally just filmed this, and this palette has really shocked me. This is the Uma Beauty Freedom palette. This palette is so good. Let me fix our exposure a little bit because we need to be able to see these up close. Okay, y'all, first of all, here it is from afar. So what I love about this palette is the shimmers and the mattes are separated. So, you know, you've got a row of each. And I love the neutral shades that are chosen here. You have kind of a warm transition, a cool transition. You have a warm brown. This one's still a bit warm, but it's cooler than this one. And then you have a black. To me, that's a perfect range. And these shimmers are out of this world. They are, oh, I think I washed them off, but they're out of this world. Let me just show you a couple of them. Like, here's the shade King. Why is it like that? Oh my God. Look at this shade, Pac. Look at that. How beautiful. I mean, just for no reason. Look at this one, y'all. These are dual chrome shimmers. Let me show you this eye look here. I mean, it's like you want neutral, but you just need something just to take it up a notch. This is the perfect palette. And there are also some, I would call them toned down shimmers. This like taupey champagne is beautiful here if you just, you know, want a little regular schmegular, or you could just do an all matte look if you want. It's got this very beautiful kind of cool gray. This palette to me just has something for everybody, and the quality is outstanding. I am so thankful that I saw the 2 reviews on this palette that I did, because when I saw the looks, I was just like, why aren't more people talking about this palette? This palette is better than the Pat McGrath palette. It just is. I mean, for me, in my opinion, color story wise, the variety wise, you know, those are things that I look at. Like, does the color story grab me? Can I do a variety of looks? I would say yes. And you could go from day to night with this palette, and the variety of shimmers just give you so many just spectacular options. I said in the video that I did on this palette, I was trying new makeup. Let me know if this is a new formula for Uma Beauty. This was my first experience trying their shadows. So I honestly feel like I may have been missing out if this is what they've been doing the whole time, because they do have some of these like black magic palettes, and they are beautiful, but I've just never pressed the button on them. But this one, oh my God, one of the best palettes of the year, y'all. Really one of the best. So started with something new. Now let's talk about something old. This is the Soft Glam palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills. And I actually repurchased this palette some time ago because one of the best shades in this palette had broken. And I didn't really appreciate this palette until more recently. So this palette is unused. I have not used it since it was repurchased. But you know, this is an oldie but goodie, I think, for many people. And I think that it leans more warm, but again, you've got the dark brown and the black, and I love that. And then you kind of have this reddish brown here. Those three mattes just really can change up the type of looks that you can get. So you can take this palette from like a quote unquote office look or work look to a happy hour or glam look. And I mean, that's the name, Soft Glam. I think it's perfect for that. Now, what I will say is that this palette and the Norvina one, those were like some of my very, very first palettes, early palettes. And I ended up like giving my Norvina one away to a friend because I really didn't know how to work with these shadows. Now it's like no issue, but I didn't even have brushes at the time. I just had the brush that was in here. I didn't know about different brushes, and I thought these were so powdery and hard to work with. I was so new to the eyeshadow game that I didn't know how to work with these palettes. But this one is absolutely beautiful, and I'm sure, I mean, we have lots of other neutrals that we can go to, but I think like for a classic neutral palette, I think Soft Glam is a really great one. The shimmers in this palette are really smooth. They don't really have like that sparkle that might be too much for someone. No duochromes. This is like a no frills situation, but it's going to give you a really beautiful look. Lots of nice one and done shades here where you can just contour your crease or just put it all over, or contour your crease, put a shimmer over and keep it going. You even have a little bit of a mauve-y matte here. So, you know, you can really change up the trajectory of the looks that you can create. And that's why I wanted to include this palette. If you have this one, dig it out. Probably should do some looks with this. I didn't get like the new Anastasia one. Anastasia, you know, not really sure about her right now with her stance on certain things. So I did want to showcase the palette. It is beautiful. Like I said, this isn't a recent purchase, but when I thought about standout neutral palettes in my collection, I can't deny that this is one. So I wanted to include that as number 2. Now the next palette I want to talk about is the Chocolate Martini palette from Glam. And this palette really kind of surprised me. I did pass on this collection, but one of my dear friends here on Instagram and that subscribes to my channel had an extra one, and she sent it to me. And I was so pleasantly surprised. I didn't purchase this one because I have a lot of palettes that can, you know, give me a similar vibe. But I don't know, this palette, it was a bit deceiving, you know? So here we have it up close, and you see that this is definitely warm. We've got like this orangey shade here, some mauves, and then some browns. And then the choices of shimmers are great. This purple is a really, really nice purple. Let me swatch it. Like, look at that. Now, I have no issues with Glamlight's formula, mattes or shimmers. Look at this kind of a icy white gold shimmer. Really, really pretty. And I think there's just enough variety in this palette where everything's not gonna be the same look. You can choose to use the colorful shimmers or not. You do have like your kind of traditional kind of brownie shimmers. Got a beautiful orangey coppery shade, and then you've got a couple of golds to choose from. You have this really deep kind of a chocolatey, it's called chocolate liqueur shade. So this palette is neutral and versatile, and that's what I really like about this Glamlight palette. So I wanted to definitely showcase this palette for neutral palettes in my collection that I would grab for. Let's go to a cool tone palette. One of my favorite palettes is the Enduring Love palette by Sydney Grace. And this palette looks so beat up, like one of the shades, Passion. I don't know what happened to it, but this is definitely a well-loved palette. And I really love this one because, again, you've got these cool tone neutrals with these colorful pops that you don't have to use. I think the standout is that these two here, you don't even have to use those. You can just go just kind of cool. I love the choices here. This shade Darcy is one of my favorite mattes in the palette. And it's a standout matte for me. And then when it comes to the shimmers, like Deanna is such a grungy, antique-y tone, and I love those tones. Albert is a beautiful gray silver shade. Elizabeth, this magenta maybe, I don't know. There are so many things that you can do. And again, you have the black shade here, you have browns, you have kind of these gray taupey tones. You got this beautiful purple Abigail here. It's just like you can go with the color or you don't have to. And I love this palette. This is probably, out of all the cool tone palettes that I have, and I don't really have a lot, this would be my #1 for cool tones. This is so good. And this is the deep version, by the way. That was probably the only cool tone palette I have on this list. Other palettes that I like that are cool tones are like the ABH Sultry palette and the Nars Climax palette. I wouldn't necessarily consider that one a neutrals palette. It does have some neutrals in there, but I love Sultry. I should have put Sultry on this list, but you know, maybe I will. All right, let's go to another one here. Yeah, and then it'll be 14. I'll grab Sultry. I don't think Sultry is available for purchase anymore, but let's talk about Artist Couture Supreme Nude. Now, I did purchase this at the beginning of 2022. I was watching a review from Kinky Sweat and just happened to be going to Sephora. I got a chance to go in the store and I had to come out with something.
When you're done, are you going to go to the pool?
But I'm not done yet.
I said when you're done.
I think this is really, really nice. And this is just like basic in the best way. It's not something that, like with Enduring Love, where you might have to think a little bit about the colors that you want to combine. This one, I think you could combine any of these together because they're kind of in that same warm vibe. There's no room for error with this palette, and that's why I like it. This is like a great grab and go palette. I would say if somebody is on a work conference or something like that and they want to have something that where you can still get a little bit of variety, but you don't want to put too much thought into it. This is something I could wear every day for work, or might be wearing it every day because I have to be to work at 7:15 and I want something that looks nice that I don't have to think about. I love the shade Supreme here, which is like this green. It's a really nice green, but it's not like this green. You know what I mean? So I just think that's kind of just almost like just like a toned down type shimmer where it's not gonna be kind of like this standout. You know, the more I talk to people about eyeshadow, you know, the more I appreciate what people like. And when I first started wearing eyeshadow, and I remember using those like Dior Quints, which I did not include any of those in this video, but I was like, they were so lackluster to me. I was just like, these are like, what are we doing? And then, you know, trying them out again recently, I'm like, this is like subtle goodness here. And so now I kind of see what people like. Yeah, I just feel like it's subtle goodness, and I can now look at different eye looks through the person that's creating them and understanding why they may like a certain look, why they think it's beautiful, where I know before I might have been like, like if it doesn't have sparkle and shine, like what's the point? But sometimes I don't want that anymore. So I've definitely changed over these past couple of years. And don't get me wrong, when I see certain swatches like this, I'm just like, wow, but I don't always want this. Sometimes I don't. So it just depends. And I can appreciate like both kind of perspectives at this point. So Supreme Nudes is a really good one. I'm gonna grab Sultry while I'm thinking about it. Okay, so I just grabbed Sultry. Like I said, I think this one is discontinued. Yeah, this one to me, like, it is cool, but then sometimes I look at it and I'm like, is it cool? I just think this color story is really interesting. And when did I go buy this? I bought this back when Urban Decay came out with the Naked Reloaded palette. And I bought the Naked Reloaded palette and I didn't really like it, but I went and found Sultry. It was hard to find, but I was able to find it in a store, surprisingly, because it was hard. This palette is also very nice, and in this one you have like that matte gray. That's a big standout shade for me. You have your black, and then you have the variety of shimmers. Bloom is a standout. So this one was a really interesting release, I think, from ABH. I'm not sure why it was discontinued, because she doesn't have anything out that replaces this. I think Nouveau may appear a bit cooler, but it's not like this. So this is just a palette that I do appreciate having in my collection. Like I said, it's an old palette, but it still performs really well. And yeah, I really like it. I love the choices of mattes that she has, because even though some of them, the differences don't look huge, like this one to me is more warm, birch, and then you have Twig, which is a taupey brown. That's kind of cool. So there's just a lot you can do. And again, this is just a palette I could see someone using every day to do work looks or glam looks. Yeah, I'm glad I brought this one out. All right, so we're gonna have 14 palettes total. Now I lost count of where we are, so I'm just gonna go to the next one. The next palette is a palette that was underappreciated in my collection. Well, it didn't even stay in my collection. I sold it and then I rebought it this year. This is the Patrick Ta Major Dimension eyeshadow palette, and I rebought this after I purchased the second one and loved it so much. I was like, why did I sell the other one? I wasn't really into neutrals at the time, but oh my God, y'all. Okay, and the other thing is, these shimmers to me are a bit strange, and they're not shimmers that I feel like are good to use with your fingers. They are really prone to hard pan. So I did use the tape to get the hard pan off, and now I feel like they work fine. I know a lot of you are familiar with Patrick Ta's two palettes, and he has the two cream shades here, which are really great eyeshadow bases for these looks. There's a lighter one and a deeper one, and then I just love kind of the monochromatic vibe here and the gradient. So this is another palette where you're not going to make a lot of mistakes. I love this shade right here. This one is probably like one of the best shimmers in the palette. And you know, his palettes were all about the texture. And at the time, I just wasn't feeling it. I didn't like the texture on my eyes, which is why I never really gravitated to the Pat McGrath special shades until recently. I just started to have more of an appreciation. And that's also why I gravitated and bought the Isamaya French palette, because I'm liking all those different formulas now, whereas before I wasn't into the rougher feeling of the Pat McGrath Bake shades at all. The mattes in this palette are very good. Now, there was never an issue with those, but the shimmers were just like, they were really lackluster for me at the time. And now I think they're great. I just think that you're seeing kind of an evolution in my taste, and also an appreciation for just what different creators decide to come out with. And like I said, I love these mattes, especially like this red tone one here. I really enjoy this palette. And the pink one was definitely a standout palette that I purchased this year. I do tend to like more monochromatic looks, but I think for doing YouTube and trying to showcase a palette, it can be boring and kind of redundant. So I do try to showcase, you know, a lot of colors. But I did say that I'd like to start just doing the looks that I would prefer and just do more looks, so I can still showcase the colors in the palette, but I don't have the colors all over my eyes, because I don't typically like that. I don't. Or I think I did at first, honestly. But like this right here, oh my God, yes. Yes. Okay, moving on. The last group of palettes here are all from 3 brands. So that's gonna take us through the rest of the video. So let's do my Pat McGrath palettes. I just have 2. Now the palettes that I was thinking about that I chose not to showcase were Platinum Bronze and Bronze Ambition. Those were 6 pans that are long gone. So I didn't even wanna do all of that. Now I'm not even sure if this palette is available anymore. The Mothership Mega was Celestial Odyssey, was Pat McGrath's last holiday release. I'm so curious as to what she's gonna do this year. I was not as thrilled about this palette as I was Celestial Divinity. However, when it comes to thinking of a neutral palette for me, and a neutral palette for me, I think the perfect one, like the Uma Beauty one, is gonna have some options. This one, I think, has it. And even when I use this palette, no matter what I do with Pat McGrath palettes, I tend to really love the looks. So this palette has 4 mattes. And as I'm sure you know, most of the mattes are gonna be the mauve type pinky mattes. So we have 2, actually it's kind of half and half. 2 that have the mauve tones, and then you have, this is like the perfect brown transition shade, and then you have a deep smoke shade here. The shimmers in this palette I think are very, very nice. And I know they're like, and she gave us green, but it's not green. Everybody be like, is it green? This is a green that was breaking all the time for people because mine was shattered and I had to get a new one. Like, it's okay, but it's not like Blitz Emerald green. She did give us the blue, which this is a beautiful blue. Reminds me a bit of, maybe not. I was thinking about the blue she has in the Decadence palette, but it definitely gives you that option for the pop of color. And then you have a nice range of colors in between. Some lilac shades like this one here. You got a gold, of course, some pinky shimmers. This beautiful black one here with the reflex is nice. And you got some peachy stuff and a brown. Like, to me, this is just all around a perfect palette that you could take on a vacation to get some real nice looks. You could get some looks that pop, some looks that are like more muted. I think it's all around great. I, again, like Celestial Divinity better. The Star Wars palettes, those 2, I love those 2 palettes that she included. And then the shades in the middle are really nice. And I think those looks are more like, they're gonna be like more standout. There's some duochromes in there. So that's why I like Celestial Divinity better. Oh, wow. That's really good. You're welcome.
Sorry, everyone.
You're gonna say sorry, everyone. Yeah, because you interrupting. I don't talk about this one as much, but when did I wear this palette? I wore this palette a few weeks ago and I was like, damn, this looks nice. Minimal effort. You know, I'm all about ease too. And I do think that all of these palettes here, you can use with minimal effort, just minimal effort. This one, really, minimal effort, love it. Now the other palette that I picked out was Midnight Sun. Oh my goodness, and I need to do some looks with this because I'm trying to figure out where this is gonna go in my ranking, because this one and Subversive, and Bronze Seduction, those 3 are the ones that I think are competing for the top spot. No, I don't think. Those 3 are competing for the top spot. Here's the thing about Midnight Sun. I love the special shades in this palette, but let's take the special shades out and look at that. When you remove the special shades, sometimes I feel like the color stories look a bit lackluster, but this one doesn't look lackluster for me. And there is variety here, just in that. So like this shade right here, oh my God, this is like one of the best mattes, like that red tone brown. I talk about the red tone browns that I love those. I actually have one from the Uma Beauty palette that's similar to this. You have your just basic transition, and then you have this beautiful smoke shade. I love this palette. Wicked Envy, this green, antique green, if that's such a thing, smooth. Just her metallics are really, really good. You have like this kind of your typical little bronzy champagne shade. I mean, you could really just do a look with these 2. Contour, put that on in a corner, smoke if you want to, don't have to. So then you're gonna take it up a notch when you add the special shades back in. Like this blood orange or blood moon, I don't know what this is called. Gorgeous. This one right here, beautiful. The gold, you know she's gonna have a gold. The purple, love this purple. Trying to decide if I like this one or the one in Utopian Dream better. Probably this one though. The one in Utopian Dream though, I just decided to appreciate that one last week. Oh my God, I don't know how I'm gonna choose because Bronze Seduction is another one that's just with the red, and those special shades are just, those are phenomenal. The earthiness of this palette is why I chose this one. It's so earthy for me, and I love colors like that, earth tones. That's what this reminds me of. And like I said, when I take the special shades away, this 6 pan is something I would buy. It's very appealing to me. I don't know if I can say the same about Subversive or Bronze Seduction at this time. So this might still be number 1. But yes, y'all, I had to put this on the list with neutral palettes that I wanted to point today. Now my next brand we're gonna talk about is Melt. You probably already know what palettes are gonna be on here for me. The first one is Rust. One of my all-time favorite palettes. My first Melt palette was the Rust palette, and y'all, come on. This is just classic Melt. Now I did replace this shimmer because it wasn't a shimmer, it was like a blend out shade, and you know, sometimes I don't believe in those. But it was this color, a matte. I can't do anything with that. So I did take a Give Me Glow shade and put that in there because, like, why not? Now, everything else erode, y'all. Erode this yellow here. One of the best shades in the palette. Like, this palette is so, did I even show it to y'all? Look, this palette is so good, y'all. Oh my God, like, just get it. If you were thinking about it, just get it. It's nothing to think about. Like, do it. If you were thinking about it, I'm not being an enabler. Ravage, like, look at Ravage. Oh. Then you got Rot. Look at Rot. That's almost like the deep shade in the Midnight Sun, y'all. Come on, y'all. Stop playing. Like, I'm gonna buy this again to have a fresh one. But I don't need to do that. I don't need to have fresh palettes. Because I got a fresh Muerte palette. Thinking about those Macari sellers. This palette is awesome. So yeah, I had to. And the second Melt palette that I wanted to showcase is this one that I feel like nobody talks about. I remember talking to Kinky Sweat about this one. And I did not own the palette at the time. And then I think I got this on sale. It was 20% off, like from Beauty Bay or something. And I was like, let me go ahead and get 27. Y'all, this palette is so underrated. I don't know why people don't talk about this one. Like this one, I'm telling you, in Rust, because you know, Melt can be hit or miss, but these two palettes are hits. And I don't know why people are not still talking about them. Talk about them. Because this one is great because this one, so this one has 2 shimmers. Oh, I thought somebody was crying. And let's see. So one more thing. This reminds me of like, will you make the chocolate milk but you put too much water or too much milk in it? Like that. I love this shade. It's cool and really nice. But then you also kind of have these shades are odd. Like this shade Thick right here. This is just an odd shade. I don't even know what you call it because it's brown. That's not a good finger to use. It's brown, but it's, I don't know what to call that shade. I really don't. Kind of in a mauve way, but not really. I just think the mattes in this palette are really unique mattes and just really have a lot of variety. The ones in Rust, you know, we see a lot, but I don't see these types of mattes a whole lot. And the shimmers, like they're not the most spectacular ones, but they're not like the ones in Millennial Pinks or anything like that. This is a really, really good one, y'all. And if you're attracted to that color story, I just think Rust and 27 are like, they're just good partners. Let's hold them up together. They about to get on my nerve. They're waiting to go to the pool, but my sister's not home, so what you want to do? Here they are together. Oh, they're magnetized. All right, here they are. Look at that. Maybe that's better, like this. These are gorgeous. Like this is a dream right here for me. I love it. All right, so the last brand we're gonna talk about is my girl Tasha, okay? One palette I don't even think I should include because I haven't really used it yet, but I have used it, so. One-time count. Let's start with that one. This is the gold palette. And I repurchased this when it came back on her site because I have just heard the most amazing things about the gold palette. And I'm putting this on here because, you know, minus the blues, you just have like your little basic neutral situation, but these blues just give you something extra, you know. And here's the thing, I don't really like blue eyeshadow, but these two blues are nice. They're not like that crayon blue. This one is kind of like a blue with a little bit of green. And then this shimmer is beautiful. This is a beautiful blue shade. I love it. See, and it's not, where's that blue from? That blue from Utopia, not Utopian, Lord have mercy. Celestial. I don't know what I did with that one, but I really like this blue. It's just, to me, a little more subdued. And then all of the varying browns and golds really go together well. Now, yes, they are similar, but again, that's kind of just leaving you room to just use all the shades kind of interchangeably. There's one that has more of a mustard tinge to it that I really like. And then you have your deep brown, you got a brown shimmer. Yeah, this palette is great. I think some of these shimmers, I haven't used them all yet. I don't know if some of them are better for toppers or what. Ooh, this is a duochrome. Hold on. It's like a little lightweight duochrome, but it's still pretty. It's almost like the one that I have on here. Yeah, it's almost like this one. So yeah, very happy to acquire this palette. And I cannot wait to really use it. This is another one that could be like an everyday palette, and I'm sure it can be, but like you could definitely do glam with this palette. I'm glad I got this one. Next, we're going to talk about Biba. Now, y'all know this is the all-time classic neutral palette. I got this off Macari because I can't be doing this $129 for palettes. So I do have some shades that fall out because you know how it is. Now, here's what I appreciate about this palette. What shade? The black one falls out. I had to repress it and I didn't clean it up. But you've got almost some of the same shades in that Melt 27 palette. Very similar. You've got the shimmers, you have some of the cream to powder mattes, but then here in the bottom, you have more of these cool tones. You have the blacks and the grays. So I thought this would be a great palette to go with the Isamaya Beauty palette because they're like some warm shades and cool antique shades here. I thought this would be a great partner palette for it. I'm sorry, I cannot, I'm afraid that spot will come out again. Okay, that's the best I can give you right there. But yeah, this one reminds me of the Melt 27 palette when I think about it, with these kind of reddish browns in them and a little bit of rust as well. But yeah, this is just a classic palette. And when I saw it, because I think I certain I paid less than $100 for this, because you know this one was the 129 size palette and I just couldn't do that. And so when I saw this new, I was like, yeah. So it did come a little bit banged up, you know, from Macari, but it works perfectly. And this is definitely, when I think about a neutral palette or something to pair singles with, this palette is the one that I really grabbed for a lot. And now we're gonna wrap this video up with the last neutral palette from Natasha. This is my...
I'm just saying hi.
Okay. This is my first Natasha Denona palette. The bronze palette, y'all. This is where it all started.
Did you say LeBron?
No, not LeBron. Bronze. Oh. And this is for neutral, warm lovers. Another palette here where there are no bad combos. Sorry, potential spam.
It's time to go to...
As soon as I'm done, this last palette. Don't know if Ariel's gonna be home, but maybe we'll just go wait. Might be better to just go wait. Not a bad seat in the house, not a bad combo. These two shades here, these purples, are like two of the most unique shades that I think I have in palettes. It's like a raisin color, I would call it. Love this palette. Some of the mattes, yes, they are very similar, like Sundown and Ridge. But to me, I'm like, who cares? Because I can't get enough of those types of shades. Suntan, you got these beautiful reds like High Degree and Magma. Oh my gosh, I think, is that cream to powder? I don't even know or care. This palette is so good. It is just, it's another one that I wanted a fresh one, but I don't need a fresh one because this one works perfectly. You got a duochrome shade, the shade Bliss. And these are kind of like, I call them like lightweight duochromes, but again, everybody doesn't want heavyweight duochromes, you know what I mean? Or like the Cleona kind. So this is just really, really good. Another palette where it can be one and done. These matte shades, these shimmer shades are just one and dones for me. This palette gives you the bronze golden goddess look, like, oh my gosh. And I have on that red tone bronzer today. Like, it would just, yes, y'all. This, I just can't. Like, if you were on the fence about bronze, like, you don't need to be on the fence unless you just don't like warm tones. If you're like, I don't like warm tones, don't get that, because that's one of the warmest palettes that I own. So that is it. That was 14 palettes. I thought about the Vive Essentials palette. I love the mattes in the Vive palette. Shimmers are so-so, but these right here, these are my babies. They are, and I love them. And you too. So thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me on Another Mimosas and Makeup. I am gonna get these children. I don't think it's really gonna, can I finish? I just need to close it out. If you have neutral palettes that you really like, drop them in the comments. I would love to hear it. I also have the Viseart Cashmere palette. That one looks really good, but I haven't used that. It looks a lot like Moonlit Seduction, so I'd love to, you know, pull that one out.
Look good.
Thanks. Well, since I look good, let me get on out of here, y'all. Thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me for another Mimosas and Makeup. I hope this was therapy for you. It always is for me. So until I see you again, make sure you are being gentle with yourself. Talk to yourself nice, stay safe, and I will see y'all really soon. Bye.